Hi guys, welcome back to In My Cocina. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex and this is going to be my first video of this year. I started this channel last year after we started getting into quarantine for the first time. I had always thought about doing it, but then, once we got into quarantine, my husband, Ray, is the one who actually was like, okay, we're going to do it. Like just this one day, was like, okay, we're going to do it today. We're going to go get you some new pots and pans and we're going to do it. So then once he said that, I was like, okay. And then we went and got my pans. But then I sat down and actually started writing like my thoughts and my ideas. Like, what do I want my channel to be like? What do I want the name to be? All that kind of stuff. And then in my notes, I basically wrote about the things that I really love, my hobbies and stuff like that. And reading, journaling, crafting, and cooking, of course, were some of the things that I wrote down, but I just really haven't got to that point, where I feel comfortable enough to do all the other extra stuff other than just cooking. Cooking is just something that I'm super comfortable with, so that's what I focused on. But I want to start kind of also vlogging about other stuff that I like, and so I hope that's okay with you guys. Let me know if you like this video. It is going to be different, so if you're waiting for me to start cooking at some point, I'm not going to cook during this video. I already ate, already fed them, so this is all about one of the hobbies that I really, really love, which is to read. So before it got later in the year, I wanted to go ahead and do like a fun video. Hopefully it doesn't take super long. I don't want to like super get into every book, but I wanted to do a video about all the books that I read last year. I'm not gonna be like a booktuber or anything like that. I do have one of my best friends who does that, and she reads a lot more than me. But yeah, I really love to read. I try to read at least one book a month, and so today I'm gonna talk about all the books that I read last year. So I actually have a book club, and that's why I at least read one book a month. The year before, so like 2019, I set a goal to read at least one a month, and I ended up reading 15 books in 2019. And then last year I was like, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna try to read one book a month. I ended up reading only 14 books, and one of them was actually even just like a comic book type of book. So, but it's still a book. I try to make time to read a book, with my friends and then talk about it. I've talked about it in another blog, I think. I showed you kind of how my book club goes. So every time that we pick a book, I kind of decorate with the theme, and I cook food that has to do with that theme that I choose. So like one of the books was like the wedding night, and we had like a fancy dinner, and we all dressed up. Was it the wedding night? No, that was the guest list. Anyways, we'll get into that. But yeah, so I love getting together with my friends, talking about books. It creates some really, really good conversations. And so the way I'm going to go about this video, just let's see how it goes. I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about each book. So if you don't want any spoilers to any of these books, just forward, because I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm just going to go with it. But I will talk to you a little bit about the book and tell you how I felt about it, if I would recommend you reading it or not, or whatever. Like you decide how you feel about it based on how I feel. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. Let's get started. Okay, so the first book I read is called The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas, and that was a really, really, really good book. I actually started reading that on my way back from Mexico in 2019, going into 2020. Anyways, pointless information, but it was a really good book. It is a really good book, especially if you're an educator, I feel, and just a human being in general, because it really talks a lot about how a lot of the African American community feels about the things that they go through. It really opened up my eyes a lot to the things that the African American culture faces. And it's a really, really good book, so I would recommend it big time. And there's even a movie that they made about it. So I don't know how you feel about movies and books, but I always like to watch the movie first and then read the book, because the books are always better. So if that's how you are, I would definitely recommend watch the movie first and then read the book, because there's a lot of things that don't happen exactly how they happen. There's a lot of things that they skip in the movie and whatnot. So yeah, but I definitely recommend this book. It's really, really, really great and super emotional and super real. So prepare yourself for, reality. Next book is called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. I'm not sure how you say that last name, but this one's actually a memoir. And it's this woman who's a therapist, and she's going through this really I guess, life-changing event. She has this boyfriend that's been her boyfriend for a long time. They want to get married, but she has a kid, and he's basically wanting to leave her because she has a kid, and it doesn't make sense to her because they've been together for a long time, and he's been knowing that. And anyway, she ends up going to see a therapist herself, and then it focuses in on like 5 of her own patients and their lives. Like there's one person who like has cancer, I think, and then there's this person who's like I want to say like a producer or something in the film industry, and he's like a jerk, and it goes into deep into their lives, and it's really good because then it ends up helping her realize like what she needs to do with her own life, and it's really good. But yeah, that one's like a really fast read, and you end up kind of connecting with some people. So for that book club, we ended up having like a girls' night, and we talked, and we excuse my lights. We ended up talking a lot, and we ended up getting into some really good conversations about like the things that we've been through and how they've shaped us to be who we are. Next book is The Woman in the Window. So honestly, I picked this one because the movie was about to come out, and then COVID, quarantine, and all that started happening. They closed the movie theaters, and it didn't come out in the movies after all. I don't even know what ended up happening. I had to get up to fix my lights because they were really messing up. But anyways, Ray walked in on me talking about that book, and he said, it's apparently coming out on Netflix. So I'm excited to watch that just because I really like that actress. I don't even know her name, but I love her. So yeah, I wouldn't super recommend that book if you don't want to be bored, but if you want to just read a book, you can read that book. Next book, Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate. Oh my gosh, super emotional. Apparently it's based on a true story also. And I'm over here reading a little bit more on this website to make sure that I tell you guys right, because I don't want to say it wrong. Because I'm telling you, this book really got to me because it's true. Like stuff like this used to happen, and not that things are the greatest right now with adoptions and CPS. A lot of countries have horrible things going on, but we've come a long way. I've obviously worked with CPS, and I have friends who are caseworkers, and they work really hard to make sure that kids are put into safe homes. I mean, it's not an easy process. It took us literally like almost 3 years to finally be where we are with our little boy. And so anyways, this book focuses on stuff that used to happen back in the day in Georgia, where there was people who would trick parents into giving up their kids into like adoption, and then they would get separated and they would get sold into like rich families. So it was like poor families getting tricked into giving up their kids to be sold to wealthy families. So this is based on a true story. I'm not even gonna say anymore, just read it. I cried a lot, and then yeah, you get to see what happens in the end, and just read it. Just read it. Next book is called The Wedding Night by Sophie Kinsella. Not sure how you say that name either, but this one's a fun read. It's a very quick read, and it's like about these 2 sisters. One of them is divorced, and the other one is about to get married to some old crush, because the guy who she's been with for a long time, she thought he was gonna propose and he didn't. So then she goes and basically is gonna get married really quickly to this other guy. And So they get married and they go on their honeymoon, and the sister is basically trying to ruin the honeymoon so that they don't have their wedding night, so that the marriage isn't consummated. And so it's like a mess. So Snug is my next book by Katana Chetwynd. I'm so bad with these last names. I should have Googled it before I got on here. But this is the one that I was telling you was kind of like a comic book, and I actually have it, like the physical book. I had to go get it because it's just so cute. It's Katana Comics, and I follow this girl on Instagram, and her comics are just so cute. I'm not even gonna like show you a bunch because I don't know if I can do that, but like you've probably seen them. They look like this. Just really cute. So I read this obviously pretty quickly. I would try to save it to like read like, 4 or 5 pages a night just to show Ray and like have a laugh. But I ended up reading very quickly. And it was super cute. I actually wanted to go like see her when she had like a book signing, but we didn't end up getting to go to that. But maybe one day. Next book is Something in the Water by Catherine Sterman. And so this was a super extra book compared to what I'm used to reading, because I'm used to reading just like sweet, funny type of stuff. Last year I did read a couple of like mysteries, which I mean, I enjoy them. Oh, my hair. But this one's a little bit different than what I'm used to normally reading. It was like a lot of drama, intense, like weapons, and I don't really like that kind of stuff a lot, but it was good. Basically this couple goes on their honeymoon, and this girl is like a filmmaker, documentary type of person. So she's interviewing people who are in jail, and she ends up like befriending one of the guys who's in jail. And anyway, they go on their honeymoon, and then they end up finding this duffel bag full of like money and stuff like that. And then of course the people who that belong to end up trying to come looking for them. And so it's like this whole, drama about them coming to find them, and then her and her husband's relationship. You find out some really interesting stuff. I don't want to spoil that one if you want to read that book, because it's pretty good. It was pretty good. It's just not my normal kind of book. But if you like that type of thing, you should totally read it. Next, this one was one of my favorites, and I am being biased because I know the author, and it's called Thank You for Smiling by Sol Singh. So actually this author is a principal in my school district, and I actually met her by accident because I confused her with one of the APs that I used to work with. And so then after that, I kind of just like added her on Facebook. I reached out to her to see if she'd be interested in joining this book club because I wanted to read her book. And she was in foster care. She went through a lot of really, really terrible things. And this book is about her life. And it's really inspiring because despite everything she went through, she became a principal. She motivates so many kids to be better, to not let whatever they go through define who they're going to be. And it's just so great. It's super great, and I recommend that you read that one for sure. So for Hispanic Heritage Month, I always try to read a book that's by a Hispanic author. And so in last year, the book that I ended up reading is The Book of Unknown Americans by Cristina Enriquez. It focused on the story of this family who came from Mexico to the United States because their daughter suffered a brain injury, and so they wanted her to come to school here. And they weren't even here for like, I don't think more than 6 months, and they went through a lot. I don't want to spoil that story because I really, really want you to read it. It talks a lot about why Hispanic families in particular leave their countries to come here to the United States, and then the things that they end up facing here. Because, a lot of people think, they come here and their lives are automatically better, and no, like they struggle and they have to work hard. It also shares stories about the different people who are in their lives that end up living like in the same building as them, or that work at a store that they go to or shop at and whatnot. And then it talks a lot about how like each of these families, each of these people are affected by racism or the economy and things like that. So a really, really good book and very realistic to what a lot of the people who come here from different countries face when they arrive. Because it's not easy. And I thought a lot about my parents and the fact that, you know, they're immigrants and they both come from Mexico, and how even to this day they struggle, and it's not easy to just move up in a job. I really enjoyed that book, and I hope that you'll read that. And if you're Hispanic especially, try to read some more books from Hispanic authors. Then I read The Guest List by Lucy Foley, and I feel like this one was like a super trendy book for people to read, and we ended up reading it anyways because we were just really interested. It told you the different perspectives of different characters about what was going on until leading up to the moment that, you know, someone is murdered. I guess if you're like an expert and you read it a lot, you might have seen the ending coming, but I didn't see it coming, and it was good. After reading books like that, I kind of end up being scared to sleep a little bit at night because I can't stop thinking about the bad stuff. But I enjoyed it, and for that book club, we ended up doing like a day where we all got super dressed up. Like, I think I mentioned this at the beginning, but we ended up getting all dressed up all in black and fancy, and we had a really like nice dinner. We ordered food from, what is that restaurant called? Oh, what is it called? I'm Googling it. We ordered food from Adriatic Cafe. I don't know if you've had that or if there's one near you, but that food is really good. So we ordered food from there. We had a fancy dinner, and we ended up playing Clue. So it was a mystery day book club that day. Really fun. You should read that book. One of my favorite books to have read last year, and hopefully y'all don't judge me, but it was Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer. I was a super Twilight fan. However, I didn't end up reading all the other books. I watched all the movies, and then I started reading the books, but I only finished Twilight and New Moon. I never finished the other ones. But, you know, of course, I watched all the movies, super big fan. Team Jacob forever. I really enjoyed Midnight Sun. I read it on Audible. I think one of my friends tried reading it and she didn't really super like the voice that was reading it, but I read it all and it was really good. I mean, of course, you're reading the same story, so you feel like you already know what's going to happen, but it was really nice to hear Edward's perspective, like why he did certain things, what he was thinking when he did certain things. I can't sit here and tell you the whole story because you already probably watched the movie, but I liked it. Like, I liked hearing his side and the like behind the scenes of what was going on in his mind when he was going through, you know, the stuff that happens. And so it's Twilight. It's Midnight Sun is just Twilight on Edward's perspective, and I would read it again. Read it. All right, next we have Such a Fun Age by Kiley Reid. This is another one that was kind of trendy to read, and so I even think that it was like one that was on Reese Witherspoon's book club books, I think. Let me confirm that. Yes. Yeah, it was on there. And so we ended up reading it. This story, it's focused on this girl who is a babysitter. She doesn't know really what to do with her life, but her friends are kind of moving on with their lives, getting into their careers and whatnot. She kind of is jealous of that. And so she's just babysitting for this family. And so she's Black, and the family she's babysitting for is white. And they end up calling her in the middle of the night one day, and she goes to a grocery store with the kid, and then a security guard assumes that she kidnapped the little girl, and they don't let her leave the store until the dad shows up. The whole time, this random guy there is filming this whole situation happening, and she ends up dating that guy. And then it turns out that that guy dated the girl who, like the mom of the kid she babysits, a long time ago, and they both think that each other is racist. And so it's really weird at the end. I don't really understand what ends up happening, because she ends up breaking up with the guy because she thinks that he she thinks that he posted the video of the grocery and she didn't want it posted. But then it turns out that the lady who she babysits for is the one who posted it, because she's just trying to like be more famous. I don't know. It was weird at the end, but I mean, the beginning and the whole issue of, racism was really a good thing to read about, because again, that's stuff that really happens, and I just wish it would have ended better. I wasn't happy with the ending, so I don't know. Next, I read I Found You by Lisa Jewell. And Lisa Jewell just happened to be an author that I really wanted to read another book about. I wanted to read another one of Lisa Jewell's books because I read Then She Was Gone, and I don't know if you read Then She Was Gone, but that was a really, really good book. Left me traumatized. And so I wanted to read another one of her books. I came across I Found You, and it ended up being really good. It was, I don't want to tell the whole story because I really want you to read that one. It was really good. But basically, this guy turns up at this lady's porch, which she's like an older lady. I think they're in their 40s or something. She has kids and everything, and she's a single mom. And this guy turns up at her house, and he doesn't turn up at her house. I'm sorry. He's at the beach, and he doesn't remember who he is. He's lost his memory, so she invites him to her house, which is weird. Why would you do that? But anyway, she ends up trying to help him recover his memory, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, there's this girl in another country who her husband's missing. And then you find out how the stories overlap. And it all goes back to when they were teenagers and something happened. Something serious happened. Something pretty sad happened. So don't want to spoil that one. You should read it. Read it. Anything Lisa Jewell, hopefully I can read more of her books this year. I'm actually reading another one of her books right now. It's called The Family Upstairs. And the last book I read this year, and I actually saved this one for last because I really, really wanted to read it. I'd actually planned on reading this earlier in the year, and we were going to go to Waco to the silos to meet the author. But then it ended up getting canceled because of COVID. But it is called Live in Love by Lauren Akins, and she is Thomas Rhett's wife. I really love them so much, and they're just so humble. I don't know, I feel like I know them. I follow them both on Instagram and everything. But really good people, and their faith is very strong. Their faith, they've said, is what has kept them going a lot of the time when they face challenges. And so her book gets really into their childhood. They met, I think, when they were in first or second grade, and then it talks about falling in love throughout the years as friends, and then dating in middle school. I think it was high school. They did it, I think, in 10th grade. And then they broke up and ended up reconnecting in college. But it just talks about throughout that whole entire time how they were very close to their friends, their church community, and to this day, that's what holds them together. And she talked a lot about marriage and how marriage is something you have to work hard to maintain, something you have to work hard to keep strong. And it's not just easy. It's not as easy as it looks. And of course, you look at celebrities and you think that their life is perfect. And especially with songs that Thomas Rhett has written, of course, Die a Happy Man. You would think that it's perfect, but it's really not. And it was just a really good book. Gave you a really good idea about the fact that, these celebrities are real people. And I especially just love that she tells a story about how they adopted, and of course how it was not as easy as it looked, and how it was just meant to be. It was a really good book, a really good way to end my year. And I felt like I related to it a lot. I thought a lot about, it helped me reflect on my life, especially last year, because last year's when everything happened for us in our adoption, and just working hard to keep our marriage strong as well. Faith has been something that has super helped us do that. I swear, all the prayers that people have sent our way, all the prayers that our friends and our family have sent our way, and strangers, like just everything has helped push us forward and get past really, really, really hard days. Those are the books that I read this year. I ended up reading 14 books, and let me know what you think. As always, thank you so much for watching my videos. I really hope that you enjoyed this. I don't know how long it's gonna be, but just fast forward. I hope you fast forward and got through it anyways. And I hope that you read some of these books. If you do, let me know in the comments if you've already read some. Let me know in the comments if you have any recommendations for me for this year. Let me know in the comments, okay? So, it's getting pretty late. I'm gonna go. Thank you for watching. Bye!